got one that can see.
Logic before authority.
So now let's take a look at what has been left for us to look at by the peoples of the past. Let's look and see if there were any messages that were left in stone, in most cases, to try to send a message into the future. If you think about it, how would you even today try to send a message into the future? Would you do an internet web page and hope it lasted? Would you write a book? What do? They put things in stone, in granite, right? Okay. So right after we take a look at this, we're going to start taking a look into the past and see what kind of messages have been left for us that we can see that either further confirm or deny some of the concepts in the overall documentary of the EyeRus world. Okay? So right here, what we're looking at, most of you probably know what this is. There'll be a few of you that don't, so I'm going to give you a real brief introduction. This is a playing card from a game that was manufactured in 1995. It was called the Illuminati playing card game. And throughout the entire deck, in which I have a copy of one of the boxes, or I have a set of a box set of one of the set of cards, thanks to one of you guys that sent it to me, which I still greatly appreciate that. And it goes all the way back to all the cards say things about the future at that time, including people going postal. These cards came out in 1995, and in 1996, we started hearing of people going postal. And that event, it was documented in these cards. And pretty much every other major event that has been going on and is going on even to this day. Now, this card here is an interesting card. It's always kind of fascinated me because it's all about symbolism and understanding the message, okay? And there's multiple things happening here, and I know this was tied to Wuhan and what happened there, because as you can see, this ribbon comes out and goes back, and it goes down to China, to the approximate area and the Providence, I think it's called, where Wuhan is at, okay? And then you can see in the center of these here, it has something in there that looks like what? The thing that came out of Wuhan, right? Right in the very center of the reel. Again, this is all about symbolism, okay? No center reel looks like that. They have little small holes, 1 or 2, 3 holes, where the tape mounts on the machine. The fact that they look like the V is significant, okay? But let's give you the current and new, my better understanding of this, okay? Let's read what it says. It says, when the rapture comes, I'll make 'em wait. They'll never clean my cage. Now give me some more of. Then it says, tape runs out. Good try. Too bad something went wrong. Then it says, and this is important too, this card may be played immediately after any other plot is played. What plot has just been played? The one that came out of Wuhan, that has the image of the V right there in the center of that, you see? And I've done videos on this before. So what plot just played? Okay, you know what plot just played. For 2 years it's played out and still playing out. And what happened during that plot being played out? What happened? Well, I'll show you what happened. The abomination of desolation happened. What is the worst thing that has always throughout biblical history made God the most furious so that he would put an end to the world? Well, it was altering of his DNA. It was the altering of his code in human beings so that the flesh was corrupted, right? That is the abomination of desolation. And I've done a complete detailed video study on that, and I believe that's still available on one of my channels. I might re-upload it if it isn't here soon. So, but let's read this a little bit. Well, let's give you some comment on this, okay? And I wrote myself a few notes here that you can't see, and it says, when the rapture comes, I will make them wait. Question mark. Wait. This would be like the holding or reset or shortening of time. Something went wrong? Nothing is wrong. They just know something we don't until now. Okay? It says, card may be played immediately after any other plot is played. So something that happens in our world, some plot, like the one that's been going on for the last 2 years, and then this card is played. What happens when this card is played? It says, well, let's read it. It says, this card may be played immediately after any other plot is played for any purpose. That card is canceled. Both cards are discarded. Okay? So it means that play, that plot, that time period gets reset and the whole game gets played again. That's what this means. And we're talking about when the rapture comes. I'll make them wait. Okay? So it's saying by the instructions of the card here that something's going to happen. Time is going to be stopped, reset to a prior play or a prior time. And I know how wild that sounds. But if we look at some of the biblical scripture around the abomination of desolation, it says, verse 22, if those days had not been cut short, no one would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Okay? And this is directly in the verbiage going along with in the part of the scripture that talks about the abomination of desolation. I find that quite fascinating because when they wrote these cards, they already had their plan. The plan has been their plan for a long time. And they're associating this event, this plot that's been going on with the last 2 years, they're associating it with the rapture. And I could go into more in the symbolism of what we're seeing here as well, and I have in the past. Like you have these two reels here, and they're wound up on here, right? Wound up in a big circle. Kind of reminds me of the Taurus thing again. Two of them, two bulls, two Tauruses. But anyways, I wanted to show you that. The main thing is understanding how this plays into this and what it is and what Scripture says. And yeah, okay? All right. So in doing my research, I look into depth in all places, you might say. And one thing I found in reference to what we were just looking at is an album that came out, and the album has a lot of interesting things on it. Okay, this album is called Time Port Influence. Now, what were we just talking about? Time, right? Look at what one of the songs is called. Tape Runs Out. And of course, they got their pyramid, and they got, you could say, an eye or an eclipse, which basically are the same thing. Okay, it's symbolism for the same thing. The all-seeing eye is the sun. At least that's my belief. But they're showing an eclipse taking place. Some of the other songs are well, before we go into that, let's notice that what we have is a circle, just like all the circles we've been looking at and what that means, along with the square. Okay, we have a circle like the eye of the storm, the eye of the hurricane, and then we also have the square, and which we know that these are the things that they worship. They worship the creation, but not the creator. They believe they can become God and be the creator, and they're trying to do it. Now, let's look at some of the names of the songs. It says Time Port Influence. Okay, obviously that's talking about influencing time through the use of some type of portal, right? A place to begin or end a journey, a port. Okay. Inner light, the ribbon that connects us with our Father in heaven. Very much like this ribbon that you see running here. The inner light, it's what exists right between your eyes at the Crystal Galley that I've done a complete video on as well in the past. Look up the Crystal Galley and look up and understand what it is if you don't already. Then we've got Slides of Dream. Slides of Dream. The images used to put you under a spell and into a false dream state, just like what the television does. Slides of Dream. And what were we just looking at? These have slides, right, on them. And the tape runs out. This album was put out definitely by the same people that have the knowledge that created this card. Okay. Tape runs out. Of course, that is the title of the card. The current play/plot is canceled and everything is reset, making you wait. Charon Records. And of course, there's meaning behind that too, if you want to look up and understand what Charon means. Okay. But there you have it when it comes to that anyways. This is all symbolism, sending you a message, telling you a story, if you can understand. And luckily, thanks to y'all guys and thanks to my hard work, we've been able to take years in trying to understand, and we're doing a very good job. At least I think so, and I know many of y'all guys do too. Okay. So now let's take a look next at. Now I guess this would kind of fall into the area of, you might say, well, I guess all this falls into the area of trying to understand something. We've all heard the song Ring Around the Rosies, right? Yeah. Ring Around the Rosies. Remember the lyrics to that? The world falls down. If you translate it in different languages, you get a different kind of story, but it's very, very similar. But it's talking about, ring around the rosies, pocket full of posies, we all fall down. So it's saying we go around in a big circle, and at some point, we all fall down. I think there's meaning behind some of these things. But we're talking mainly about, going forth here, is the messages that are in things that we can see. Things that have been left for us from the past. Okay? And I'll ask this question again here in a little bit, but who do you think was smarter? The people these days or the people way, way back at different points in time? Who do you think understood the earth better? Think about that. Ring around Rosie. This is a note I made for myself in reference to these images. It says, ring around Rosie. I said, it is the symbolism of the astrological houses in heaven. And this right here, of course, is too. This is called rose windows, right? Ring around Rosie. And at some point, we all fall down. Now, that's their song, that's their thing, but we also know that there comes a point, and it has happened, and I am absolutely positive of this, that it has happened a number of times throughout history. I don't know how many, but you can look at the land and look at things, which we're going to look at here in a minute, and you can see that total disaster takes place on this earth over and over. I mean, do you really think that we've just now, after as long as we've been on this earth, have finally risen to where we're at? No, we've been to where we're at in better ways many times before. At least that's what I believe. Now, we're looking at these windows here, and of course, these are in the Catholic basilicas and everything, and most of these have like 12 petals on a flower, and then you've got the center eye, which is the eye of the storm. This is a toroidal imagery, is what this is. Absolutely toroidal imagery. And when you see it, most of the time when you see it on the basilicas, and Catholic basilicas, it is located knowing that the building is made in the image of a woman, like Notre Dame, which means Our Lady. And when you see this rose window, you'll notice that it is in the position of the female clitoris. The torus, yeah. The clitoris is in that position on the churches. You'll look at it and see it. It's there. And right below it, of course, is the Vesica Pisces, which is the image of the female vagina. Right? Right. The one on the right over here is also symbolism of the Taurus again, with the center up in the middle. And in the symbolism of this, of course, this is like heaven being in the center, the eye of the storm, the apple of the eye of the apple, right? Now, we also know that these, just like our land, and above that, as the occultist Aleister Crowley did say something of, well, he said a number of things of truth, like the as above, so below. Not everything that they say is a lie. It's what you do with the knowledge that makes it evil or not evil, okay? And so we know this is also symbolism of the heavens, right? And what do we know about this? Well, we know that supposedly we are in the age of Pisces, the fish, okay? And if we take a look at Scripture, what it says, and I've mentioned this one time before, I think, on my channel, but it's relevant to what we're going to be talking about and what we are talking about. And it says, and he said unto them, Behold, when ye are entered into the city, there shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water, follow him into the house where he entereth in. Okay? And it's pretty easy when you start understanding where we're at. We're talking about we are in Pisces, the fish, and we're going into the age of Aquarius, is pretty much the given understanding based on the fact, I believe it's when you get up first thing in the morning and look to the east, you'll see Aquarius rising. So we know that Aquarius is now going to be the celestial body that crosses our view on a daily basis. Okay? So even Scripture says that we are entering into a new age, and the new age that it says to know when the time is nigh is for the rapture, still talking about that, is when you see the man bearing a pitcher of water. Again, it's not talking about a guy walking around on the ground down here. It's a man bearing a pitcher of water that everyone can see, because this is talking to everyone, isn't it? So here's another image that many of you are familiar with, and we all have been told, and we all believe that we know that this is an image of hate, right? If you didn't want someone to think about or associate themselves with or investigate into something, what would you tell them about it? You would tell them that it's evil, it's dangerous, it's hateful, it's against God, wouldn't you? But I think that there is some truth here, okay, that has to do with this, and it is directly tied to the things that we've been talking about. Obviously, this looks very familiar, but we ask ourselves, why does it have the lines coming over and then jumping backwards? Like, here's Pisces, we're going into Aquarius. And then there comes a point where the line, and I'm looking at these lines out here like the lines of time, okay, jumping backwards. It's almost even like the heavens jump backwards, because each one of these goes down, jumps backwards, goes down, jumps backwards. You see what I'm saying? Let's see, I got myself a few notes here. Let me look at it and see what else I might have here to say. Okay, so the main thing I didn't say yet, and I'll just read this to you. It says, I said that the moment of the reset, aka shortening of time, is during a solar eclipse, which is why this is called the black sun, okay? Just like when Christ was crucified, it said the sun went dark. Do you think that that was a pivotal point in time that was of high importance when the crucifixion of Christ took place, and the significance of the sun going dark, meaning likely that there was an eclipse? So, and it said it lasted for 3 hours. It was from the 6th hour of the day until the 9th hour of the day, which means it was from 12 noon, which is the 6th hour of the day. The day starts in the morning, not at midnight. Not what they've taught you. It starts when the sun rises. And the 6th hour of the day is noon. And then it says it lasted for 3 hours. Well, how long do eclipses last? Well, totality only lasts a few minutes, but the sun starts its darkening process and ends its darkening process over a period of about 3 hours. So, again, the moment of the reset, the shortening of the time, the changing whatever it is that's going to happen is going to happen at the moment of an eclipse, a solar eclipse. Like, for instance, we have one in 2024. We had one in 2017. The one in 2024 has great significance. And then we have one in 2028, I believe, also. Some other eclipses and stuff that are going to be going on that I think are significant. But I can only show you and explain to you what I see and how I see it through much the dedication of my life, and explain it to you the way I see it. And I'm wrong sometimes. Definitely I've been wrong. I know I have. But I'm doing the best I can to explain these things in the way that they make the most sense, in the way I'm led to show them to you. Yeah. And yes, this is kind of as well, it's definitely a clock as well, because we're talking about the passing of time through epochs here, basically. Okay, let's see what is next on the agenda. Okay, so now it's time to really start stepping back in time and looking at some of these things that people have left for us to consider. Why did they do this? Okay, my question is, when were these built? Like this building and some other things I'm going to show you. Were they built 500 years ago? 2,000 years ago? 20,000 years ago? How long does stone last? We know that it'll weather, and we know that it's not completely eternal. Depending on the type of stone, it has different wear rates, but the real question is how long ago was this built? Okay. Let's see a little better picture here. And we'll be asking the same question of some other things here. And talking about timelines, this coin here has a date on it that you can see here at the top. And at first glance, you would think it says 1650. But it's actually an I, which means in the year of our Lord, 650. So, was this coin minted in 650? Or was it minted in 1650? Because if it was 650, that means, the year is 1,000 years. Okay? So then 650 would definitely mean that it was minted during the 1,000 years following Christ. And you can find a lot of coins like this, and of course a lot of symbolism on them as well. There's some more coins. I guess what I'm trying to point out here is we don't really know our own timeline. We really don't know what year it is, do we? Okay. Here's a book that shows a similar thing. It says I-599, in the year of our Lord, 599. And the year of our Lord is, again, 1,000 years. It's considered 1 year with the Lord. Okay. We don't know. We only know what we've been shown. Just like, look at this old map. Again, it's got the I-597. And showing you right over here that a 1 actually looks like a 1. But this is an I. But most people think this means 1597. And it doesn't. And look at this. Look at Florida. How did they get all that so wrong? I don't know. I mean, how right are our maps? most of us would think that they are perfect, but they're not. Another map showing the same things. And here's a stone. I believe this was in a graveyard, and it says J794. Again, we don't know what our time is. We don't know what the real date is. At least I don't. Okay, you may know. Okay, so here we all know this is the Mayan, or we know it as called the Mayan calendar, right? But this is an image of the Mayan calendar. The actual Mayan calendar was a working long count clock, okay? And of course, most everybody thought that the year 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar, and that would be the moment of something, right? You can't help think about the Mayans and how they had their civilization and something, and I know what they tell us in the movies, but you can't just believe these things. You have to say, well, at general, the statement is they built a huge empire and something came along and wiped them out. And I know you somewhere else shout what's, in like Wikipedia, that the Spaniards came and they got diseases and died. Yeah, that's the same story they're telling us right now, isn't it? That something that you can't see killed everybody. And it's my belief that this thing that they claim we can't see isn't real to start with. It's not what's killing people. It's things that they're being poisoned by, okay? Hang on just a second. So, of course, when these guys built the Mayan temples, and it just happens to be that the temples are found all around the world, including even in the United States. And when it was not even a temple, like the Indians, they built mounds, and they would go up on top of the mounds, and they would take seeds, and they would go up on top of the mounds, and they would germinate them, because the seeds sitting on the top of a mound would germinate a lot better than they would just thrown in the dirt down on the ground. They would get a lot better germination. The energy was better, you might say. But when was this built, and why did they build everything out of stone? Well, there might be multiple reasons, but one reason, of course, is that it's simple and obvious. It's going to last a long time. So they built these things knowing that they were building for their future, and then something came along and wiped them out. And of course, this is all about energy. This is all about the Taurus. We know this. But my question is when were these things built? How old are some of these things? Were they built before or after the flood? Were they built? It's like, what cycle were they built in? Let me give you a better statement. Are they remnants of previous cycles where time has passed and ring around the rosy, everybody fell down? Okay? God reset everything, which he's done. So it's not like God won't reset things, because it's been done. It's obvious to see. When I seen this photo, it made me ask also, why did they build this big city, which would have taken an enormous amount of work to build on top of a mountain? Why did they build it on top of the mountain? What did they know about building in a valley where it would be easier? Why did they think we better build on top of the mountain? And how long ago was this built? Because if you go back and look at the old photos of Machu Picchu, you will see that the entire area until the 1940s, when it was like rediscovered, was completely covered. This has been excavated. It had been forgotten about. How do you do that as a human society that's growing and getting bigger and stronger, and you just completely forget about cities that it would have took an enormous amount of manpower to build? How do you forget them unless something happened to where there were no people? A reset. And what have we got right now, them saying that's happening? They're calling this the Great Reset, right? I think these guys they knew things, like guys that built these things like this. They knew and understood some of the things that we're talking about in this video, except for they knew it how long ago? And who's smarter again? The ones that were living in the woods and in the jungles and living with and on the land, by the land, and not living the kind of lives that we live right now? I think they were smarter until we decide to apply ourselves, which is what I've done for over a decade. So here we have another image. This is a tomb in Peru. Claims to be a tomb anyways. That the sunshine shines exactly down the hallway into the tomb, lighting it completely inside once a year. And of course, they know this, and that's why they build it, and they show the toroidal Fibonacci spiral flow, as you can see on the rock that's in front of it here. They're showing how it comes and then turns and flows the cycles of it. They're showing you the flow of the cycles of time, and they know this. See, if you wanted to send a message into the future, would you put it on stone or would you write it on paper? I think the stone method has been pretty effective. I'm pretty sure. Now this is a very, very interesting image here. This supposedly was, and it looks to be carved out of the side of the mountain and into the image. And I'll tell you what I think this is in the image of. You see the rings and how they have you can tell they had petals on the rings. It's right back to the same subject. And here they have some type of beasts, and I probably could have got a better photo of this. Like bulls, in the center there. Just like the tabernacle and just like Solomon's temple. Now here are some of the hills that are the Indian, this is in the United States, and this is the Indian mounds that were built. How long ago were they built? Was this, how many cycles ago? 1 cycle, 2, 3, how many, 4 resets? I mean, there's reason to think that, good reason to think that there have been multiple times of people living, humans living in the United States. They call this the New World. Why? They hadn't discovered it in tens of thousands of years, or they just rediscovered it. America, the New World. And then this supposedly is this is claimed to be the oldest human settlement on Earth. It's in Southeast Africa. Supposedly, it was a human settlement 160,000 years ago, is what they claim. It was discovered by Michael Tellinger in the 1990s, supposedly. And from the air, you can see all these concentric circles with circles inside of them, with thin connecting lines in other ways. But the common theme is circles inside of circles. And it had to do with man, whenever this was, whether it was 160,000 years ago, whether it was 1,000,000 years ago, or whether it was 100,000 or 50,000 years ago. I don't know, and you don't know. Here's some more of the images from a further off location. A lot of it in Africa. But what happened to these people? Why did this empire fall apart? How old is this? And there's reasons why I keep asking this, and they'll become clear as we move forward. Here's another one. This is located in Malta. It's called the Majindra Temple, something like that. Well, what does this look like to you? Well, you could say a lot of things, I suppose. But this looks like, to me, it looks like two Tauruses stacked on top of each other. Definitely looks like it. And it's kind of repeated over here. Looks like maybe a well was on that right here. But yeah, looks like the way a hurricane functions. Two Tauruses stacked on top. And you remember what I said? How they operate is to observe nature very, very carefully and then copy it. The Acropolis of Athens. When was this built? What is the message? Normally you have pillars holding up things like this. And you have, the pillars are in the shape and everything of the Tauruses. That's what the pillars are you see on most stuff like this. But in this case, the pillars are the humans. I suppose that's what is being represented here. Beings, human beings. Now, how old is this? How many times have we went through this? Here's the pillars like I'm talking about. These are Tauruses. You have a Taurus on the bottom. You have a Taurus on the top. And then they have a name for the part in the middle. But it is representative or symbolism of the moving and rotating of the energy in between the two Tauruses. Because when they used to build these buildings, they knew many things about how the world worked. And they incorporated it into their designs. How old is this? Castle of Van in Turkey. Round buildings built up to points, which most of all the points have all broken off. They were round like the Tower of Babylon going up, but it's worn down now over time. You can see how they've broken off and stuff. How old was it? What cycle? Is it in the current cycle, or was this 2 or 3 cycles ago? How about these guys? And then when you start looking, you start seeing messages that were left on the stone. Here is the image that we see, like the halo behind Christ's head, right? But it's symbolism for something. What does the halo represent? It represents the energy, the flow, basically the energy of flow out of us, or in the case of Christ, out of Christ, that is called the halo, or the corona, or the torus. Okay? And when you look at these, you can't help but notice the similarity that's not just in one part of the world, all over the world. Like this one here has got 24 dots, just like the hours in the day. But it's also pointing to something else as well. How did these people from all over the world draw all these similar things, in which I have more of here in a second? The Grand Canyon, where most people wouldn't expect to find things that are there. We say, well, the Grand Canyon, yeah, but did you know that there used to be a society of people who inhabited the Grand Canyon? And supposedly, I haven't been there, but supposedly these images came from there. Here we have what looks like flames coming up, or energy coming up, sitting on a round table in the lotus, sitting in the lotus position, like the flower. Again, going right back to the torus again. And if these were temples, pyramids, how long ago were they pyramids? Because they've weathered a lot. This is in the United States. How many times back things have reset that when these were pyramids, that they've worn down so bad that you can't even hardly make them out anymore. This one's talking about, says Indonesian rock art dated to 44,000 years ago. Seems to show mythological figures in a hunting scene. 44,000 years ago? If that's even remotely true, the timeline that we've been given about the development and the growth of human society as a whole is not true. And we know that's the case, but it's just not true. This, they say, is about 17,000 years ago. This is in the Lascaux caves in southwestern France. All right, let me move a little faster. You can see the images of what I'm showing you. How they repeat around the world. What was this guy that lived many thousands of years ago trying to get across to us? He painted, or however he got this on the stone inside the cave to stay. How did he do it? This is supposedly the cave that this was painted in. It's called the Chumash Painted Cave. And this is actually in California. Yep. How old is this? What's the message? It's over and over we get a very, very similar message from all types of people from around different parts of the world. Here we go again with 12 dots. See the 12 or 24, it seems like all the time. And you got these circles with the dots all around them. And then you got images of bulls. And even one of the bulls has it on his eye. See here? Here it is over here blown up. But he has the image of the dots around a circle on his head. Huh. Here's another very old one. This is an image of what supposedly is on there. But here you go again with a lot of the same symbolism. And these are not my explanation as to what these are for. This was on this that I found. Now here's another question. When was this tree cut down? Oh, you didn't know this was a tree? Well, I know most of you do. But, yeah, this is exactly how the fiber in a tree grows. Yep, the fibers, and then you have the rings. And the fibers are in between the rings. And the rings are in what? Well, they're in a big circle like this kind of, new ring for each ear kind of thing. But when was this built? Or, excuse me, when was it cut down? When was it grown is a whole other question. And what period was that? Well, they say back before Noah that it didn't rain. And I am sure that there were magnificent giant trees back in those days. And the skies and the heavens were covered by the canopies of these trees. And you'd probably have to travel very far in order to be able to even see the sky. The tree is way more important than what we realize. I think it's about got the secret to everything in it. This is a video that actually Mr. MMB333, most of you are familiar with him. Every now and then he'll put something out that impresses me, and this was one of them where he showed where a tree was found, where he showed and said this is a giant old tree. He actually told an amazing truth. Kind of like this one. You can even see the rings still. And that one, all giant trees. But when were they cut down? How many cycles ago? Because now they're all petrified into rock. And inside the rock, you have the gold, and you have silver, and the gems, and you have it all right in there. But this is all about something I'm working towards here. Why I keep asking when, because there's a bigger story at play here, okay? I'll see if I can move any faster at all. Hang on here a second. Speaking about time, consider this. 33,000 years divided by 2 equals 16,500. Divided by 2 equals 8250. Divided by 2 equals 4125. Divided by 2 equals 2162. Divided by 2 equals 1031. Divided by 2 equals 515. Divided by 2 equals 257. Then 128. Then 64. 32, 16, 8, and 4. And then 2. Are we talking about years or megabytes and gigabytes and terabytes? And why did Microsoft do this? And then how about 720, 1080, 2160, 2K is 2160, and 4K is 4320, Ultra high resolution is what they call it. But these are also periods of time. If you look up these numbers in association to time, you'll see the correlation. And the numbers are exact. Like time versus HD resolutions, or revolutions, meaning time. But all the stuff to do with the megabytes and gigabytes and terabytes, it all matches time periods based off of 33,000 years coming down. Is there magic to this number in more ways than one? Like 33. Well, if you go scuba diving, you dive off the boat. When you get down to 33 feet, your ears have to pop. If they don't pop, you can't go any deeper. And the fact that you're down at 33 feet and your ears have to pop means that that 33 feet of water is equal to the exact amount of the atmosphere when you're standing on Earth above you. All of the air above you and everything that's above you, the weight of it on you, is the same amount of weight as 33 feet of water. Yeah. Okay, so this should ring a bell to most of you because I put out a short asking people to decode the term Bible. And I know there are a lot of ways you can make sense out of things, but I want to show you something. And I'm not saying anything that I'm saying is exact. It is my interpretation. It is my understanding of it. And I don't agree with all of everything that I'm even showing you, so far as, like I said, knowledge is one thing, but deciding to use it for good or evil is another. Okay. So let's take a look at this. Ancient Bible scrolls to go on exhibit in New Jerusalem House of Prayer. What? Wait a minute. Okay. Let's go back to this. Decode the term Bible. Was the Bible always in a book? Or was the Bible originally in scrolls? Or even on rock, right? Supposedly it was mostly like scrolls. Scrolls like this. Now, decode the word Bible. 2. See this one here? 1, 2. And if we take a little closer look, and what is this? This is it's a scroll and it's wound on it, just like a torus. Okay. The book itself is fed backwards and forth, depending on which way you're reading or what you're doing. It's fed backwards and forth on this, and this was the old books, scrolls. Okay. Now, what do we find if we take a little closer and make sure that thinking of this as a torus is correct? Well, if we look at the end of the scroll, we can see that it has a big flower around it. And we know a flower is symbolism, absolutely 100% symbolism for a torus. And then we have this upturned lip right here. See the lip that had to be designed into it that way, to have the flower petals with the upturned lip. And then you have this flat area in here with a stem sticking out. Of course, you might call it exaggerated stem because it's where you have to hold on to it. It has to be functional. But this is symbolism for a torus. This is where the words Bible comes from. And if you need a little further confirmation, you can think about the word bull when it comes to the Catholic religion. You do know that the Bible and all the books that are in it were approved by the Vatican, basically, right? And even though there is tremendous truth in everything, and especially the Bible. It may even hold the greatest truths. But like I said before, everything has not always been evil. We have went through times after times, and there are point in times when people do things, whether it's this or building a building or a castle, when they've chosen to be good and they've trying to help society, trying to send a message into the future about something they know. And so, anyways, I just wanted to show you that. And continuing along with, again, more proof of this concept, and that they knew and they've known for a long time. This is called carnival glass. Carnival. Yeah, you can decode that word too. But if you look at this carnival glass, and if you even start thinking about carnivals in general, but we're just going to focus on this glass for a moment, you can see what's here. Okay? It's basically this piece is a plate, and it is exactly in the image of a torus. And you even have your center here, the eye, right? And I find that fascinating. Here's another piece, carnival glass. This, in case you're not familiar with it, it's all made back in the early 1900s. A lot of really beautiful work, actually. It's hard to find this good work anymore. Those are just a couple of pieces. They make all kinds. Okay, now, and I know I'm kind of jumping around, but that's just the way it is when you are trying to overall present a concept, okay, in which we're going to get to that concept coming together. I wanted to show you something that is quite a trip. This is a this is the intro for a Netflix series that is called let's see, what was it? I think it Welcome to it was Welcome to Eden. Okay, Eden, like the Garden of Eden. Now, keeping everything that we've talked about and keeping everything in mind, what do you think they're going to show us in this? Well, let's take a look. And then I also have the trailer for you to look at right here. But this is the intro. Okay? So let's see if I can set this up so it best functions here. Okay, I think we're going to do it like this so that we don't get a copyright or something like that, because this is a current thing out there right now, current movie that's coming out or just came out. So I'm going to pause my mic for a minute. Hopefully I don't get this messed up. I'll try to watch it carefully. And I'm going to let you, well, no, I can't play the audio either, but I can tell you what it says. Okay. As this video plays, so I'm not going to pause my audio. As this video starts, it says, I'm locked in a perfect cage. Okay. I'm locked in a perfect cage. And it's showing what kind of symbolism there. Okay. Well, it's not very clear yet, but they'll get there. It says, I'm locked in a perfect cage, wondering to myself again, is this how it's going to end? And they go through and show a few different images. And then right here starts the real imagery that is in this series. And let's see, this is another image it shows. And then it shows this. And this, they're showing this. It's, again, we're talking torus. We're talking eye. Okay. I'm locked in a perfect cage. These guys, they believe that they are in a time prison. Okay? I'm locked in a perfect cage. Yep. They believe they're in a time prison, and they're rebelling, and they are trying to break the prison, become God. That is absolutely what they're doing. And let's see. That's pretty much the imagery for this. Let me pull the other one here real quick. Okay, so this is the trailer, okay, for Welcome to Eden. And they're on an, well, what they do is they invite a bunch of young people, young, influential, thinking they're going to a big party. They invite them to an island that is surrounded by water in every direction. And on the island, to start with, they just have a bunch of parties. They're partying down, you know, kind of like the way the world works. They're partying down. And you notice the round, all the symbolism, okay, that you see. Everything is purposeful, okay? But the symbolism gets, in this movie, in this Netflix series, with the knowledge that you have, you can see it. It is absolutely, let's see, where is, looking for a specific scene. You've seen the big circle. This is where that big circle's at, but there is this big circle here. But then they have little houses everywhere. Okay, we obviously know what the circle is related to and everything. Let me see if they have one of these houses in here. Here's a little bit bigger view, and of course they're sitting in a circle in the middle of the circle. Okay. It even says here, if a bird doesn't try to fly, it'll never know it lives in a cage. That's what they're talking about in the intro. Okay. So you see what I'm saying. They believe they are in a prison. Okay, let's see if it will show us. If not, I'll just pull up the, well, things start to turn bad on the island. They realize they're in a trap. Okay. Again, they believe that they're in a trap. Okay, where is it? Oh, here we go. All right. See over here on the right? I don't know if they're going to show us a better view of one. I don't think they are, but I'm going to pull it up and show it to you. Let me just do that real quick. Welcome to Eden. Okay, there's got to be an image of. They live. I'll just tell you why I'm looking for it. House. They live in Taurus houses, literally. And these are not the images. Okay, not that. That's not even in the show. They're perfect examples of the Taurus. If I can find an image. Wow, that is a trip. Why they're not showing it? Because in the show, it shows it all the time. They live in Tauruses. And it's completely easy to see, especially for y'all guys at this point. Oh, man. You're kidding me, right? Apparently not. Okay. Let me show you. Taurus. Oh no. Let me show you great owl. Okay, the great owl. This image here, for instance. See, this is the image of the Taurus on the face of the owl, which is why you see a lot of presidents and things like that, especially presidents. They all, like Bush, he had photos of him taken with an owl sitting on his arm, because they know this is the image of the world on the face of the owl. The two Tauruses, see them? One here, one here. And this is the image of the world. Here's your apple. See the shape of the apple? Okay. The image of the world. Where's the eyes? And it's right in the center of the apple, pretty much. The eye of the storms, right? So the houses are shaped exactly like half of this. And they have big oval windows in them in the exact right spot. It is absolutely Taurus imagery in this movie. See, this is, you see part of it right here. Okay. See if I play that for a second. Nope, it didn't help any. So, but yeah, Tauruses. And there's another one back there in the background. You can't really see that well. Okay. So I just wanted to show you that because I feel it's important to show that they're proving through the symbolism in their movies, like a movie called Welcome to Eden. And they're showing the Tauruses, they're showing the rings, they're showing the island in the middle of the sea. They're showing everything that I'm telling you in many ways, in modern movies and throughout time. And I know most of you get this, but part of me going over in this stuff in this much depth is to not only show it to you, give you enough information, but I want enough information to know that I'm telling you the truth, if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, continuing on. And I think I will get into this a little bit more, but I'll mention it real quick. You see this image here? This is light coming in. This is light hitting a medium, in this case a pyramid. And the light, as it passes through, separates into all colors, because white light separates into all colors, and bends. See how it's bent and going out in a different direction. And I'll say this, the reason why I'm showing you this is because when you look up and you see the sun, I don't believe you're seeing the sun. What we're seeing is this, okay? We're seeing the sun pass through the firmament with the light separating into all colors, and then it's bending and coming down at an angle to where we would never know where the sun was at exactly, or exactly what it looks like. Does that make sense? Hopefully. All right. And I'll share this with you because I did find it interesting. And it's kind of one of those things that has always been made ugly to me, so it's hard for me to look at it. But it's something I come across. I thought I'd share it with you. This is called Vilokan, or voodoo. This is it's an African religion. Now, why I found this interesting when I was doing my research is to find out that in this religion, okay, I know when we think of voodoo, we just think of bad things. We don't really understand it. But in this religion, their world view, okay, is, let's see here, says, it conceives of the cosmos as a sphere made in two inverted halves of a gourd, whose edges match perfectly. Two inverted halves of a gourd. Like if you cut off the top part of the gourd and put them together, it looked like two Tauruses on top of each other. Okay. It says inside that sphere are two mutually perpendicular and intersecting planes perceived in a cross section of the sphere, represent the arms of the cross. The plane along which the two halves of the spear are conjoined constitutes the horizon. And let's see if it goes on to say exactly. Okay, coming down here a little bit, it says, moreover, the Haitian and Indonesian mythologies conceive of Earth as floating on water and stretching flat along the plane of the horizon in the center of the spear. And I found that very interesting. Why? Because it matches exactly everything, including the toroidal field, which they're referring to it as like, meaning symbol for two gourds, two halves of gourds that were put together, the bigger part of the gourds, making the two toroidal fields. And so, anyways, thought I'd share that with you. And I believe this is one of their temples. And wouldn't you know it, it looks very familiar, doesn't it? Strangely. You would think if this was in Africa, there'd be more black people, but I could be wrong on this being their temple. So maybe disregard that. But not the part about what I said about what they believe, though. Okay, here, this is something new. This is the Museum of the Future. Okay. Remember I was trying to tell you what the houses look like in Welcome to Eden? This is exactly what it looks like. Even the positioning of the window. Okay. Yeah. Exactly what it looks like. Let me make this bigger. I forgot to switch back. There we go. So yeah, that is the torus. It's an image of the torus. It's one half of the torus, basically. Okay? It's like if you were looking at it from the side on a two-dimensional plane, I guess you'd say, or three-dimensional if you were in person. But you can see the other half down below in the reflection. Okay? Or at least the lower part. Because you also have this, you have to realize this wraps all the way around into a big donut or like an apple. But this is called the Museum of the Future in Dubai. Okay. So notice your colors. You got your royal purple and gold. Okay. You got the purple lights, just like you would see over New York City on a certain day once a year. The 88 lights that shine, purple lights over New York City. Of course, you got either Egyptian. Actually, I think that is Hebrew. Yeah, I think that's Hebrew. These symbols here look very familiar too. This one that looks like a 3, and this one here, and the one that looks like this is the symbols, and can't verify this right this second, which I actually could, but I'm not going to. The symbols that you see on the ISIS flag, right there. Kind of lets you know really who is behind what's going on in this world. You know. Okay, let's see now. What else we got? Oh, this is an image of it while it was being constructed. You can see they even used the construction method, the design of the torus in the construction method itself, the way the energy flows. And then inside of the building, this is what we have. Okay? You've got a torus that you can go in and do something in there, whatever it is. Okay. Here's another image from inside the building. The swirl going up stairs, I guess. Yeah. Everything perfectly following creation. Too bad they chose to do evil things with their knowledge. because this world could be a really beautiful, completely perfect place for everyone. But no man is found, unfortunately. All right. I could go into this right now, but show you a couple of slides of it. But I think I'm going to save that for the moment. Switching gears, still on the same subject. These are the top of the parachutes that Tesla uses, or SpaceX, excuse me. All the same people, different names for the same beast. Yeah, these are the tops. Look at the design on the tops of their parachute. They didn't have to put no color on there, but they did. It's interesting what they chose. Here's another one. And they've got their Mars coin coming out. Yeah, or already out, as a matter of fact, I think. Check out the Mars coin. This is in the launch video, and this goes spinning off down like this, and you can see this is obvious symbolism for the Taurus. Once again, the Mars coin, all Taurus related type occult symbolism. Here you have it again. Same stuff again. Like a plate with an upturned edge. Funny how they chose something that looked like a plate with an upturned edge. And y'all guys probably seen me share this the other day. I know some of you did. This is Michael Saylor. He's the biggest advocate for Bitcoin out there is. And I've told y'all guys that Bitcoin is a Taurus-based monetary system, or a toroidal-based monetary system. It's based on the design of the Taurus. It's based on the design of creation. Because what did I say? Observe nature and copy it. And what is the most powerful thing in nature? It is the Taurus. It is the design in which our bodies and everything else, in a way, one way or another, in many ways, are designed on. So here he comes the other day, comes out with this video, and he's sitting here in front of his Christ halo, or, which is the same thing again to say, in front of the Taurus. Okay, you can see there's two of them here. And his head is in the God position. He's like saying, I am the God. And of course, take a look at what they named it. Taking a closer eye at Bitcoin. Not a closer look, a closer eye. Then, of course, you got the red brick behind it. Red brick, if you go back and think back many, many years ago when you were a child, if you're 40 years or older, you will remember seeing the power buildings, your power stations and everything. They were all made out of red brick. And it's because red brick has power storage capability. It's a known thing about red brick. Okay, so, and it also has to do with blockchain, the chain of blocks. See, it's their way of saying, I'm God of Bitcoin, because he does own a lot, supposedly. And he's the biggest mouthpiece and advocator, and does a really good job of convincing people to invest in something that absolutely doesn't even exist. I know you can make arguments for anything, but you need to know what something is, no matter what. We know our money now is corrupted. We know all money's corrupted. But this is ultimately the perfect cage. Stuck in a perfect cage. That's what they're building. And I've told you before, they need our help to build it. Yep. Build our own prison. Our block and chain around our ankle. Yep. And even in the interview, if you went and watched this, you would hear him say things that is directly tied to the Taurus. Trip me out. Here he is in another image he put on his Facebook page to further convince you of what I said, that he is God of Bitcoin. See that? Think back to the Terminator videos, electricity flying inside the bubble, the deity coming in, I am God. Yep, that's what he's saying. Here he is. He's all the time got symbolism that's related behind him. Currency like the ship. This is the old monetary system of where they modeled the currency and the money after the banks of the river and the current and the way water flowed. They observed nature and then copied it because they knew if they did, it would be the most powerful way to do it. Now they understand something more powerful, and they're modeling the monetary system directly after it. Yep. Indeed. All right. Well, I'm getting tired for today. I just don't have the energy like I used to. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here in just a second. A couple things we are going to be getting into is some of this kind of stuff. Things that they don't want us to look at, and that they've made it obviously look and make us believe of how evil it is. But yet, there's always truth to be found. So, for you guys that are here just for the bulk of the information, that's it. A little bit of personal information. I was able to get my landlord to extend me 30 more days. I still have not moved. I still have not found a place to move to. There's literally nothing available, and there's waiting lists everywhere. And like I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. Looking at different ideas and thoughts and so on. But I do know one thing, that I'm going to need y'all guys' help. And I'm not sure in what ways exactly. I know I'm going to need your help and your continued support of my channel so that I can even have enough money to go into the new place. Because you know how it is. First, second, and security deposit. And apparently these days they want you to have near perfect credit too, on top of that. And I don't use credit anymore. The system's trying to pressure me back in. But anyways, I'd appreciate anything y'all guys can do to continue to support my work, my channel, what I'm doing. I'm sorry if I sound a little off today. It's just I'm tired, I'm stressed, but I'm also trying to keep my promise to y'all guys and bring this content to you so that we can continue to further understand things, understand the world that we live in, and why the elites do some of the things that they do, or do all the things they do. Alright guys, that's it for this video. This is part 4. There's probably going to be, matter of fact, I'm positive there will be a part 5, where we're going to do a little bit of review, but then we're going to go into some additional content that I've gathered up. About 200 more slides in the last several weeks. So I'll let you go with that. I love you. Our Father in heaven loves you. And
I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority.